Listen carefully. There's a sickness that quietly grows in people, a craving to be liked. You see it in the lowered chin, the hurrying nod, the tongue that trips over itself just to please. That instinct to roll over and show your belly, to bark for approval instead of standing guard over your own power, that's the first death. You were told loyalty is a virtue. It can be. But most of the time, it's a leash. If you hand it out freely, you become a servant. If someone demands it without earning it, they are a tyrant. Either way, the dog suffers. Think about the dog everyone praises. Loyal, gentle, obedient. What's really behind that praise? A creature trained to suppress its instincts. A mouth made for hunting now used to guard someone else's gate. A heart that beats for the hand that feeds it. That's not nobility. It's dependency dressed up as character. The dog is fed when allowed, praised when convenient, punished when disobedient. It becomes addicted to approval, terrified of rejection, and paralyzed when love is withheld. And people do the same thing. They chase validation, wag at praise, shrink from disfavor. They never command their own will, so they never lead. Leadership demands independence of thought, a stomach for solitude, and the ability to act without applause. If you can't tolerate disapproval, you'll always think with someone else's mind. This is the subtlest death, the death of personal command. And a person like that does not survive among wolves and lions. The court, the market, the street. They're all hunting grounds dressed in silk. Predators don't bark. They don't beg. They watch. They calculate. They choose their moment. Meanwhile, the dog, desperate to be acknowledged, reveals everything in a single wag. Intention, fear, desire. And what's open is easily exploited. Here's the tragedy. The dog believes kindness will spare it. Obedience will protect it. Harmlessness will make it loved forever. But affection fades, circumstances change, and masters get bored. When danger comes, no one shields the dog. It's either sacrificed first or left to fend for itself. Domestication dulls its teeth. A dog that never hunts cannot fight. It's dependent on affection, and dependency is a burden. Burdens get discarded. In conflict, the dog isn't the first to strike. It's not even ready. It's good at warning, bad at acting. It relies on others to do what it cannot. That's why it's never feared. And if you're not feared, you're powerless. Power doesn't come from how much you're loved. It comes from how dangerous people believe you are. The person with a dog's heart earns sympathy, not respect. Sympathy doesn't build empires, win negotiations, or keep a knife from your throat. Understand this too. Power structures praise dog traits because it keeps you compliant. The powerful don't live like dogs. They train others to. They talk up loyalty and obedience, so you'll bleed for their projects, fight their wars, and shield their ambitions while believing you're living nobly. But nobility without autonomy is just servitude with a halo. Look at how fast the world turns on the dog. Bite once, you're labeled dangerous. Disobey, you're abandoned. Question the master, you're put down. Obedience is never rewarded, it's expected. Stop being obedient, and your value vanishes. The servant who forgets his place isn't corrected. He's replaced. The very traits that once made the dog useful guarantee its downfall. That's why cunning people love loyal people. Predictable, controllable, eager to please. Strip away the sentiment and you'll see the truth. Neediness disguised as goodness. Submission dressed as morality. No one is born to be a servant, but people are easily broken into becoming one. When you choose the dog's life, You convince yourself safety lives in agreeableness, in yielding, in never posing a threat. You fear conflict more than humiliation, punishment more than mediocrity. You start anticipating other people's needs, not from wisdom, but from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of being seen as dangerous. Your tongue learns to apologize first. Your eyes look for permission. Your feet move only when you get a signal. Your voice appears only when invited. You start believing that harmlessness is the highest form of goodness. In reality, it's the fastest route to invisibility. People like that live on the leash of public opinion. Praise lifts them. A raised eyebrow breaks them. They've never learned to handle tension because they've never practiced solitude. They cannot command respect because they've never dared to be feared. They cling to the illusion that loyalty will shield them, kindness will influence, subservience will elevate. But the world doesn't run on those fantasies. It respects those who act without need, who take without asking, who can stand alone without trembling. Look closely at who rises in courts, councils, and commerce. It's not the eager to please. The eager get tolerated, used, and discarded. The dog might be invited near the table, never to dine, just to lie quietly beneath it. When the feast ends, it gets a scrap. It wags in gratitude and calls that lucky. It mistakes proximity to power for power itself. Then famine hits, war arrives, or a more useful creature appears, and the dog is cast out. Why? Because affection is not necessity. Those in charge do not live like dogs. Here's the natural order of command: distance, discipline, and the capacity to act without consent. That creates authority. The dog can't bear disapproval, silence, or isolation, and that need is the cage. Worse, it can't see the chain. It thinks it's free because it isn't beaten. It thinks it's chosen because it's fed. It thinks it's loved because it's tolerated. Disobey once, and the truth reveals itself. The leash tightens, the gentle hand hardens, the warm voice goes cold. It wasn't love, it was fear, disguised as loyalty. Acceptance got confused with survival. Obedience wasn't agreement. It was the absence of choice. Watch what happens under stress. No master, looming danger, growing hunger. The dog paces. It waits. It whines. It never learned to act on its own. Initiative was punished, compliance praised. It learned to mistrust its instincts and seek safety in surrender. So, when crisis arrives, it collapses, paralyzed, or panicked. It traded claw for comfort, and lost both. In the theater of power, it isn't the honest face that rules, it's the mask. And the sharpest mask is the wolf. The wolf isn't chaos, it isn't cruelty, it's control, precision. The wolf doesn't wag its tail for approval. It doesn't beg for affection. It doesn't need the group to feel secure. Its strength is quiet, its dignity unshaken, its instincts sharpened. While the dog looks to others for protection, the wolf trusts its own teeth. The wolf doesn't howl for attention, it howls for command. In the pack, it doesn't rise by begging, it rises by demonstration. It doesn't mistake hierarchy for a cage, it sees it as a ladder, climbed through force, strategy, and patience. And here's the truth: to wear the wolf as a mask isn't to abandon humanity, it's to protect it. Because the man who walks into the world exposed, with every intention revealed, is already disarmed. He becomes an open map, an easy read, a weakness waiting to be used. The wolf understands concealment as survival. It doesn't roar when threatened. It observes, waits, and only strikes when victory is assured. This is where the dog fails. striking from emotion, lunging for acceptance. The wolf strikes from certainty, from calculation. Power isn't only about action. It's about timing. And timing is the wolf's greatest gift. The wolf waits. It isn't rushed by fear or seduced by hope. It doesn't chase every opportunity. It circles. It studies. It sees the trap before it's sprung. That's why the wolf outlives the dog, not because it's stronger or faster, but because it is patient, perceptive, and willing to do what the virtuous won't. Understand this. The wolf is not cruel. Cruelty is for the desperate. The wolf doesn't waste energy on outrage, revenge, or noise. It acts when necessary, with efficiency. Fear becomes its sharper tool than love. Stillness becomes louder than pleading. When you face the wolf, you sense it, not from what it says, but from what it withholds. Its silence is the warning. Its stillness is the dominance. That is real power. To wear the mask of the wolf is to master duality. You cannot be the beast openly at all times. That's destruction. But you must always be ready to become it when needed. True strength lies in the ability to appear harmless while remaining dangerous. Sheep rest easily beside the dog, but they tremble when the wolf appears. And yet, the wise man learns to blend both masks. Gentleness as a choice, never as a dependence. Kindness as a gesture, never as a weakness. His words may be soft, but behind his silence lies a blade. The man without the wolf inside is doomed to be fragile. He's too eager to explain, too afraid to offend, too desperate to be seen as good, and that makes him prey. The wolf isn't worried about appearances. It's worried about results. It doesn't debate morality with the weaker. It acts, and its actions define it. That's freedom. Not freedom from responsibility, but freedom from chains of other people's judgment. This is why the wolf survives. It understands masks. The world doesn't reward raw honesty. It devours it. But the man who knows when to smile and when to bare his teeth becomes untouchable. He doesn't move from impulse. He doesn't beg for conditions to favor him. He creates them. He governs himself like a weapon, always sheathed, but always near. And here's the hardest truth. What society praises as loyalty is often just a chain, a beautiful word for dependence, a leash fastened around the neck of the giver, not the taker. Loyalty binds a man to another's will, not his own. It locks him into servitude under the disguise of virtue. The loyal man convinces himself that his devotion is noble, that his fidelity is a mark of inner strength. But watch his fate, and you'll see its paralysis. He cannot act without permission. He cannot change allegiance even when survival demands it. He clings to constancy, thinking it's armor, while it's the very thing dragging him under. History is littered with corpses of loyal men. Men who thought their service would be rewarded, remembered, honored. They were not. They were discarded once their usefulness ended. Burdens, not legacies. Loyalty without leverage is suicide. The wise understand this. Loyalty is never given freely. It is loaned, never gifted. Conditional, strategic, and reversible. You may speak in the language of fidelity, but behind every oath must be calculation. Allegiance is given only when it benefits you, and withdrawn the moment it endangers you. To demand loyalty is weakness, because the strong never beg for allegiance. They command it through force, fear, or necessity. The foolish give loyalty to men who would never bleed for them. They wear a collar and call it a crown. Worse still is loyalty to ideals, because ideals are even less loyal than men. Causes collapse, leaders betray, principles shift with time. The man who stays loyal to a cause long after it's hollowed out is no different than the man who refuses to leave a burning house because he once called it home. Principle must serve survival, not the other way around. The truth is brutal. The world respects those who can bend, who can shift, who can betray when survival requires it. The man who bends the chain lives. The man who dies loyal is remembered briefly, then replaced. Power belongs not to the loved or the loyal. It belongs to the feared, the unreadable, the untouchable. The world is not swayed by tears, apologies, or appeals to fairness. It bows to power, and power is never given, it's demonstrated. Not in words, but in fangs. Remember this: dogs bark because they fear. Wolves don't need to bark. Their stillness says enough. When your presence radiates danger, controlled, silent, certain, people adjust around you. They measure their words. They tread more carefully. They think twice before crossing you. That is the art of dominance. To speak little, to do much, and to let silence carry the weight of your resolve. If men look into your eyes and see that you won't flinch, won't beg, won't hesitate, they won't test you twice. The man who cannot be feared cannot be respected. He might be liked, he might be pitied, but he won't be trusted with responsibility. Leaders are chosen not for their warmth, but for their ability to act decisively, even when others shrink. A prince who cannot punish is a decoration. A general who hesitates in retaliation is a coffin for his soldiers. A man who cannot say no with finality will be used until he's empty. The earth is littered with the corpses of agreeable men, pleasant, soft, harmless men, who smiled too often and struck too little. Fear is not a weakness, it's a tool. Properly harnessed, it clears obstacles faster than diplomacy ever could. One calculated act of ruthless decisiveness is remembered longer than 100 kind gestures. Mercy is admirable, yes, but only when it comes from the strong. When the weak show mercy, it looks like helplessness, and helplessness is nothing but an invitation to be devoured. Predators don't negotiate with prey, they consume it. And the man who recoils from conflict, who pleads to be spared, who carries no fangs, he offers himself as prey. Understand this, and you'll begin to see the world clearly. The man who cries out when wounded, who insists on fairness, who begs for understanding, that man has already surrendered the battlefield. Fairness is a fiction, maintained by the powerful to pacify the powerless. The world doesn't care what you deserve, it only cares what you can hold. If you wish to stop being dominated, you must project the capacity to dominate. You don't need to boast, you don't need to roar, but you must never yield. You must train your face to show no panic, your voice to carry no desperation, your hands to remain steady even in betrayal. Power is not about having teeth. It's about showing the world you're willing to use them. This is the defining line. The man who can destroy but chooses not to, that's true strength. The one who cannot destroy and pleads for safety, that's a victim. Even in politics, in business, in private life, the principle doesn't change. In politics, the man who can ruin reputations commands the conversation. In business, the man who can walk away or flip the table sets the terms. In relationships, the man known to punish betrayal without hesitation is not betrayed twice. The whisper of capability, backed by proven ruthlessness, reshapes reality. Suddenly, people treat you differently. They measure what they say. They offer what they'd never offer to a weak man. They hesitate before crossing you. And hesitation, that brief pause of doubt, is the most reliable shield you'll ever have. There is no honor in martyrdom for principle. If your enemies cheer your fall, what good was your virtue? The world doesn't reward the self-sacrificing. It rewards the survivor. A man must learn to be steel in velvet, soft in voice, deadly in deed. He must cultivate the skill to appear calm while being capable of chaos. When you walk into a room, better that people fear offending you than forget you were there. The whimper is forgotten. The fang is remembered. This is nature's law, echoed in every forest and every palace. Those with teeth write the rules. Those without obey them. No one climbs to power by being universally loved. The desire to be liked, that's the first shackle of ambition. It softens the will. It dulls instinct. It forces you to calculate not what is necessary, but what is acceptable. And in doing so, you hand over your authority to the very crowd whose approval you seek. If you intend to rise, you must abandon the currency of popularity. The real currency is clarity, and clarity demands choices that will be despised by many, but respected by few. Hatred is not failure, it's a signpost. It means your actions carry weight. It means you're no longer background noise in other men's lives. It means your presence disrupts their comfort. The man who is hated is not always the one in danger. The one in danger is the man who everyone forgets to fear. Because power cannot exist without enemies. Power itself creates them. Those above must be separated from those below. That separation breeds resentment, and resentment breeds hate. This is not a flaw. It is the price, and only those willing to pay it will ever hold anything real. The weak crave affection. They think if people like them, they'll be safe. They believe that if they keep everyone happy, no one will strike. But safety built on approval is fragile. It lasts only as long as others are satisfied. The moment you make a choice that serves you but discomforts them, you stand alone. And if you aren't prepared for that solitude, you will fold. The strong man, in contrast, accepts isolation as the companion of leadership. He doesn't fear being hated. He calculates which hatreds are necessary. Machiavelli put it plainly, it is better to be feared than loved. If you cannot be both. Rarely can both be sustained without contradiction. Love is conditional. It shifts with fantasies and expectations. One misstep and love grows cold. Fear, however, outlasts mistakes. It lingers long after affection fades. Fear silences betrayal. It sharpens obedience. And when fear is paired with respect, it becomes the foundation of unshakable authority. The willingness to be hated frees you from the court of public opinion. It means you act on your own terms, move without explanation, punish without apology. It means you seize what others are too timid to touch. Look through history. Those remembered were almost always hated in their time. Rulers, founders, revolutionaries. The masses spat on their names. Rivals plotted against them. Enemies called them evil. But history never asked if they were liked. It only asked, did they win? The man who tries to please everyone fades into irrelevance. He softens every word, tries to stand on both sides, avoids offense at all costs. He becomes invisible. He loses the ability to say no, and eventually he becomes nothing more than a tool for others. Used, praised, and then discarded with the same smiles that once flattered him. Affection is theater. The moment you stop performing, the audience walks away. So you must decide. Do you want the illusion of harmony, or the reality of progress. Because real progress, in politics, in business, in your personal life, always comes at the expense of someone's comfort. You will be called cruel for being efficient. You will be called arrogant for refusing to explain. You will be called heartless for cutting ties that no longer serve you. Let them talk. Their words are just the noise of those too timid to act. Their protests are the soundtrack of your ascent. If you are not hated by some, you are not leading, you are following, or at best, standing still. Hatred is the storm you must walk through if you intend to climb. It will come from below, from those who envy your position. It will come from beside you, from those who resent your pace. It will come from above, from those who fear you may take their place. But if you stop walking because of the wind, you will never see the view from the top. The path to dominance is not paved with gentleness or praise. It is carved with intent, sustained by discomfort, and guarded by the refusal to be tamed. The world doesn't reward the harmless. It uses them, silences them, forgets them. To rise above the pack, you must do more than reject weakness. You must hunt it down within yourself and kill it. The dog in you must die. The obedient part of you, the part that craves permission, that bows its head, that waits for affection, that must be buried. Because as long as it lives, you remain on a leash. And no man destined for power can stay chained. To rise above, you must kill the dog in you, the obedient, the fragile, the agreeable. Only then can the wolf emerge. The wolf does not beg, does not whimper, does not wait for permission. The wolf understands that survival is not handed out like charity. It is taken, seized, carved out through will. Others will cling to virtue and submission. They'll cling to kindness, to loyalty, to approval, believing these things will shield them. Let them. They'll remain chained, wagging for scraps, mistaking proximity to power for power itself. But you, if you dare, must become the figure they fear to even name. Not because you're cruel, not because you destroy without reason, but because you have mastered yourself. Because you've stripped away the weakness that begged for safety and replaced it with a presence that radiates danger. Here's the truth. The world does not care about your intentions. It does not reward the good-hearted. It does not protect the loyal. It only bends to those who carry fangs, silent, hidden, but always ready. A man who cannot be feared cannot be respected. A man who cannot be respected cannot lead. And a man who cannot lead is condemned to live at the feet of others, forever waiting for scraps. So train your face to reveal nothing. Train your voice to betray no desperation. Train your hands to remain steady even in betrayal. Speak less. Withhold more. Let silence become your weapon. Let mystery cloak you. Because in a world where everyone is barking to be heard, the man who speaks rarely and acts with precision becomes unforgettable. Do not seek to be universally liked. That is the leash. Do not live for applause. That is the cage. Instead, cultivate presence, the kind that shifts the air in a room before you've said a word. Cultivate unpredictability, the kind that forces others to hesitate, never certain where you stand. Cultivate distance, the kind that makes your presence feel like a privilege, not a default. Because in the end, power belongs to those who dare to be feared, to those who let go of their need to please, to those who understand that affection is cheap, but fear endures. The rulers, the generals, the kings of history, they did not win because they were loved. They won because they were untouchable. So kill the dog in you, the obedient servant, the harmless pleaser, And let the wolf rise, the patient hunter, the silent observer, the creature whose very stillness is a threat. Not for cruelty's sake, but for mastery. Not to destroy indiscriminately, but to ensure that nothing and no one ever destroys you. The choice is yours. Wag your tail and wait to be fed, or bare your teeth and command the world. The dog will die. The wolf will emerge, and when it does, you will finally be free.